Okay, this is a lesson on transformational geometry. Make sure you go back and do lesson 3.2, which is the intro to transformational geometry, and take notes so that you can learn the terms that we are talking about today. Today, I am just posting a video on how to use some of those terms hands-on. So unfortunately, you will need to print off this document in order to work on it, but I am working on a way that you can do some of this type of math in a digital way. But for right now, it is going to be required that you print this off and work on it with paper and pencil. So you will need, for this lesson today and practice today, you will need a pencil. You will need an eraser. You should always have that in math. You will need a straight edge. It doesn't necessarily have to be a ruler, but you will need a straight edge. I'm going to be using the edge of this from my geometry set because it's a little bit smaller and easier to work with. And one thing that'll really help you out when learning this is transparent paper or wax paper, because it is quite handy when working with this hands-on. You don't need it, but it is a strategy to use when first learning this. So I'll show you how to use it and how it's really good with reflections and rotations. So, but let's get started. We are going to start with the top here, and there are instructions on how to do this. So it says translate rectangle ABCD 5 units. Actually, 1 second. To the right and 4 units down. So translate rectangle ABCD 5 units to the right and 4 units down. So each of these intersections on our Cartesian plane. So this is the first quadrant of the Cartesian plane, as you can see, because it is positive and positive numbers. We have our x-axis at the bottom here and our y-axis at the top. Remember, when we're plotting coordinates, we always start with the x-axis, then we go to the y-axis. And a unit in this particular case is just, it's not measured. It doesn't give me an indication of what these units are, so we're just going to call them units. So list the coordinates of rectangle ABCD and the image. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is where they currently are. So I'm going to put down A. And the current, you know what? It might even make sense to do this. Maybe just make a chart here. We're going to go before and after. So before the translation, then after the translation. That way, it's just organized nicer on our page. So I'm just going to make a line down the center, and we'll make it a T-chart. How about that? Okay, before and after. All right. So A is at x-axis 1, so 1, comma, y-axis 9. That's where that vertex is. B is at x-axis 4 and y-axis 9. C is at 4 and 7. And D is at x-axis 1 and y-axis 7. 1 and 7. So now, we listed the before the translation. Now we are going to follow the directions here. It says, translate rectangle ABCD 5 units to the right and 4 units down. So the easiest way that I find to do this is just take one particular vertices, because the shape itself is not going to change. The polygon doesn't change. We just have to take one point and move it, and then that's where that point ends up, and then draw the rest of the shape in. So let's work with vertices B here, and we're going to move it 5 units to the right and 4 units down. So B, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it says 4 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is where B is going to end up. Now, I need to fill in the rest. So C is 2 units down from B. So I'm going to put in C. And I make sure I put in my prime marks to show that I moved it. And A is 1, 2, 3 units left of B, so I'm going to put that in here. And D is 2 units down from A, 1, 2. So I'll make sure I fill in the rest of the chart with my prime marks. And then I take my straight edge and connect the lines. Okay, so we have our first successful translation of a rectangle here, and then you can shade in the shape here nicely to the best of your ability. Perfect. Now we're going to write down our coordinates after our translation. So A1, or A prime mark 1, is now at 6 and 5. Perfect. B1 is now at 9 and 5. C prime mark 1 is now at 9 and 3. And D prime mark 1 is now at 6 and 3. So that is the first question, and that is just a single translation. That's the first part of this learning, is how to do a single translation. Now, question 2, you should be able to do on your own after doing this one. You can give it a try. So pause the video here and try question 2, but I'll be going through each question with you as sort of like an answer key as you're practicing. So if you don't need my support, I would recommend that you try it first and then watch the video and then follow along. Or you can follow along if that's helpful, if you need that extra support while doing this, but you can go ahead and try question 2 on your own. So this is the correct answer. I'll even show you the answer key here. Did I get the correct answer? I did get the correct answer. I can look at all my work. So A 6.5, B 9.5, C 9.3, and D 6.3. A 6.5, B 9.5, oop, I forgot my bracket, C 9.3, and D 6.3. And if I want to give myself immediate feedback, which I often like to do because it keeps me motivated in mathematics, is I can just give myself check marks for each of these because I finished and I did a good job on it. So, moving on. This is question 2. So pause it before you start question 2 and try it on your own. That way you know that you're getting the practice and your exploration on your own, which is a great way to learn things. So I'm going to go through it though in front of you. Okay, so translate PQR 2 units to the left and 5 units up. So the first thing we want to do though is make our before and after chart. So that way we can see the changes before and after. Okay, so before, the triangle is called PQR, so I'll start with P, and I'll list those coordinates. P is 5 on the x-axis and 4 on the y-axis. Okay, Q is 6 and 1. And R is 4 and 1. Okay, so now I can follow the directions. Where am I moving this? PQR 2 units to the left and 5 units up. So I'm going to work with P. Okay, and I'm going to move P. So we're going to go with 2 units to the left. 1, 2, and 5 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to write in P prime mark 1 here, and then I can take a look here. So if I look, R is 1, 2, 3 units down and 1 unit to the left, so I have to do that. So R, we can go 1, 2, 3 units down and 1 to the left, so I'm going to write in my R here. And Q is 2 units away from P because the polygon doesn't change. It has to be congruent, which was something we learned in our last lesson about the polygon being congruent. It's the same. It's an identical form. So now I'm going to use my straight edge to complete the shape. And I'm going to shade it in. Okay, so I am going to now write in my coordinates P prime mark 1. So I moved that coordinate 1 prime mark, so I put 1 prime mark. It could be 2 or 3 if I have more instructions. And I am now at 3 and 9. 3, 9. Q prime mark 1 is now at 4 and 6. Remember, x-axis first always. And R is now at 2 and 6. Okay, so that's my before and after. Did I do a successful translation? Let's check the answer key. Okay, and just let me transition this here. Okay, so P, I have 3 and 9, 4 and 6, 2 and 6. Let me check my work. 3 and 9, 4 and 6, 2 and 6. I am correct. Woohoo! Looks like I did it correctly. Good job, me. Okay, so that is another successful translation. Now we are going to move on to the next page, which is some more translations. Remember, I would think that would be best for you to work on the question before watching the video. Watch the first one for a demonstration and then try the rest on your own, and then you can use the video as sort of an answer key for yourselves. Okay. This shape is much different, this polygon at the top here, so I'll just move my camera. Alright. I am going to start by doing my before and after chart. There's a lot of points on this one. It is U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So I'm just going to U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, U, 6 and 0. V, 2 and 0. W, 2 and 1. X, 5 and 1. Oh, found my bracket. Y, 5 and 3. And Z, 6 and 3. All right, so we are now going to go U1, V1, W1, prime mark 1, X1, Y, prime mark. Okay, let's see where these move. Okay, translate shape 2 units to the right and 6 units up. So I'm going to work with my coordinate Z there. You can pick any vertex to work with, whatever works easier for you, and go from there. So I wanted to show you now, if you want to try using that transparent paper, what you can do is you could plot your coordinates on the paper here, and then you can draw your shape kind of in here. Okay, and you can write them in. This is just a strategy that you can use if you're having trouble visually referencing where things are going. But okay, so it says to go 2 units to the right and 6 units up. So I'm going to work with the Z here. So I'm going to go 1, 2 units to the right, and then 6 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I can see where my shape is exactly going to go just by moving it with the transparent paper. So I'm going to lift up part of it here and make sure I have it on the right spot, and then fill in my coordinates. And then connect the dots. So that's a strategy that you can try. I like it best with the rotations and the reflections. I think it's the most helpful using the transparent paper, but I'll show you that after. So put this one in here, right in my coordinates. Okay, they're all in, and then shade it in. Perfect. All right, so U is 8 on the x-axis and 6. V is 4 and 6. W is 4 and 7. X is 7 and 7. Y is 7 and 9. Oops. And Z1, prime mark 1, is 8 and 9. Perfect. Okay, so that is our next translation. And let's check my answer. It is, okay. All right, 8, 6, 4, 6, 4, 7, 7, 7, 7, 9, 8, 9. Let's check. 8, 6, 4, 6, 4, 7, 7, 7, 7, 9, 8, 9. That is correct. Okay, so that is how you do a single translation on the first Cartesian, or the first quadrant of the Cartesian plane. The next thing we're going to be looking at is a reflection, but I will be doing that as a separate video. So this is just how to do a translation in the first quadrant of the Cartesian plane. Thank you for watching.